Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Thomas Cathy. This is a final prediction video for the unification world title fight between Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora for the WBC and WBO super welterweight titles. Thomas, it's an interesting one. It's not the fight we thought we were going to get. We thought we were going to see Tszyu against Keith Thurman up until a few days ago, but this is arguably better fight, possibly depending on where your head's at. Before we go into final predictions, tell us your thoughts on this fight.
It definitely is an interesting matchup, and for Zoo, it's it's tough because it's such a different opponent. He was going from facing, a former welterweight who's, like 5'8", to now he's facing a 6'5"
Mm.
uh southpaw, correct? Too, Fundora. So, um, you know, it's going to be tricky for him to deal with that change. But I think he's talented enough to get the job done. Or without giving too much away, of course.
Yeah,
But I do like the matchup. I think it's tough because I think a matchup with Thurman probably would have sold a bit better in the States. But um, in terms of the style matchup, at 154, I do think it's a better fight.
yeah. A combined record of 44, one and one draw as well between the two of them. Fundora looked like he was on a big roll until kind of got stopped in emphatic fashion against Brian Mendoza last year. A fight that he was winning clearly. Before then, he'd kind of beaten some decent names, Sergio Garcia, Erickson Lubin to be two of them. So it's interesting. I do think that if this fight was a year ago, it would be seen as a more closely fought contest. But I think just as what happens in boxing, someone loses, and then all of a sudden, kind of some people like to write them off. Just going to touch on the latest betting odds, Thomas, because they are very wide. Tszyu is 1 to 6 to win this fight, 4 to 9 to win by stoppage. So it's clear to see where the bookies' heads are at. 7 to 2 to win by decision. Fundora is 5 to 1 to win this fight, 8 to 1 to win by stoppage, and 8 to 1 to win by decision. Does that sound bang on to you? Or does that sound a little bit wide to you? Fundora, he's just lost the one fight and still ranked highly, and credit to him, he's taking this fight. He had another fight lined up for this evening that he's dropped out of to upgrade himself to Tim Zhu. Do you think that's fair, Thomas? Kind of eight to 1 for Fundora to win this fight via decision.
Uh, it's tricky because of the opponent change on short notice. You'd think that would kind of bring the odds a little bit closer, and the fact that it's such a different opponent. But the problem is, I think, that the boxing public has with the possibility of Fundora like doing well or winning the fight is he doesn't, in my opinion anyway, he doesn't really like utilize his attributes as well as he should.
Mm.
He probably gets in a little bit too close. And I feel like against Sue, it's a classic boxer puncher. He could punch. Um, and he's Fundora's been knocked out before, and it's in boxing, typically got long, lanky guys like that kind of have questionable chins.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to imagine him not getting touched on the chin and hurt at some point.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I think look, Tim Zhu is just a big puncher, and he's seen as the best super welterweight in the world right now. I'm not sure you'd have too many people who would disagree with that. So maybe that's why those odds are so wide. Without further ado, Thomas, going to ask you for your final prediction. Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora, two world titles on the line here. What is your prediction?
I think Fundora is gonna, given that this is the biggest fight of his career, right? I think he's gonna put up a good fight, and he's gonna box in a way that I think people aren't expecting him to. Um, I think he should. I think, if he's smart, he wouldn't stand in there and try to bang with Tszyu. So I think he's going to try at least. I'm not sure how well he will do it, but I think he'll at least try early on to stay on the outside and box. And I think he could give Tszyu problems if he does that. But I think later on, um, Tszyu will catch up to him, and I see him getting a stoppage. I'd say about round 9 or 10 before it
Okay.
hits the championship rounds.
Okay, we'll see. I'm not too different from you, but I think this has got kind of like mid-round stoppage all over it for me. I think Fundora could have some success. It could take Tim Tszyu a while to adapt to Fundora as an opponent, if you consider that's not who he's been training for. But I'm going to go around 6 or 7, around the same time that Fundora got stopped by Mendoza. Tim Tszyu is powerful. He stopped guys at the beginning of fights, at the end of fights, but that's what I'm going for. Tim Tszyu round 6 or 7 to stop Fundora. So we're pretty similar, Thomas. An interesting one. I think seeing as we're both going for Tim Tszyu to win this one, I'm going to ask you like, what would you like this guy to do next? If you let's assume he's going to stay at super welterweight. He's been linked with as Terence Crawford again this week. Where we're hoping to hear news about Terence Crawford soon. It's now been a while since he's been in the ring. There's Madrimov, who just won the WBA title a couple of weeks back against Magomed Kurbanov. Um, any other names you want to throw into the mix, Thomas? Who would you like to see Tim Tszyu face next if he beats Sebastian Fundora tonight?
Well, Crawford would be great. But maybe perhaps Spence. I think Spence is trying to throw his hat in there, or to he's trying to get a chance or an opportunity to step in after assuming Tim Tszyu wins, this fight coming up. I think he wants to get a shot at that title as well since he's moving up to 154. So it's kind of, if you're Tim Tszyu, pretty lucky in terms of like the amount of money he's going to be making and the potential matchups for him. Like if he looks good in this fight, I mean, those are two like really big fights for him right there. And there's also Jermell. I'm not sure if he ever plans to make his way back down, but let's not forget about Jermell Charlo, right? That could be or that is a good matchup in my opinion. So, if you're Tim Tszyu, you gotta like the fights that are, potentially around you.
Yeah, for sure. Look, Jamel Charlo, hope to see him in the ring again soon. It's unpredictable what him and his brother are going to do in my opinion. But we'll see. I think this guy he is kind of on that borderline to being kind of not quite a household name, but like a big star in the sport. I just think he needs that kind of big name to yeah to really put him there. But we will see. Thomas, good to speak to you. Thank you for your time. Thank
Likewise.
you for your prediction, and I will speak to you again soon.
Awesome, Elliot. Thank you.